Thank you very much, Father Lawrence Anthony and Father Felix Wilfred there in the corner. It's good to be here. It's both my joy and privilege to be here with this August Assembly, fellow pilgrims, on the synodal journey of communion participation and mission. Where do I begin? It's the end of a very long, very kind of morning, which kind of perhaps which was referred to earlier as the banking system of education. You have people talking to you all the time, okay? Just as we do in our seminaries, houses of formation, in our school, Ivan Illich and Paulo Freire, the pedagogy of the oppressed. And my style is to speak from the heart. I've got a whole 10-page paper here, which hopefully will come out later after this conference. But for a group like you, I speak from my heart. When I speak from my heart, I say three things. That I love you, I want you to love me too. So that is why a heart-to-heart talk is the best. Secondly, I want to tell you that I am a sinner. Long ago when I joined the Society of Jesus, we were reminded that a Jesuit is a sinner yet called to be a companion of Jesus in our GC 32 of 576. That was very clear. So I have weaknesses. And my weakness is that I'm a sinner. I'm not perfect. And secondly, my big weakness is I speak directly. There is one good bishop here who has had the courage to sit on to what I'm going to say, and many of you provincials and some generals. So I'm standing up because I wanted a lapel mic, which is not there. In the context of this very timely, contextual national conference on formation, priestly and religious formation, the vision of Pope Francis, I've been given the very, very difficult task to situate this context in the current socio-political, economic, ecological kind of reality and its implications for religious and priestly formation. Where do I begin? Let me begin by the Constitution. That's socio-political. When we will have, the finals. We said a couple of days ago was the semi-finals, and it was not good news for many of us, though indicators kind of showed that the Congress in Madhya Pradesh, in Chhattisgarh, and, Rajasthan was playing in a way soft Hindutva. And the old cocks were not ready to let go, as we have in the church. Those of us who are old men, don't want to let go of power. We don't want to empower the young. Right from the beginning, we don't trust. In the morning, this whole question about trusting came out. Can I trust, not control? So in the Constitution is there. It was given, I've written articles on the anniversary of the Constitution on the 26th of November, 1949, and the path-breaking speech of Ambedkar on the 25th of November. And he spoke about three things. One is hero worship, Bhakt worship. If you put all your idolizing on one person, if you have only political democracy and not social democracy, and if you do not take the constitution right up to the people. And today, the constitution at stake, plenty of things. Freedom of speech and expression. We have had here in the city of Bangalore, Gauri Lankesh being killed a few years ago in 2016, okay? Just assassinated because of the stand she took. We have people like Dabolkar and who is that? Pansare and the others. Here they were rationalists who took a stand of what was happening. So freedom of speech and expression is not tolerated. Big corporate houses today have given us what we call codified media. And what we see today is what is being spewed out, by the channels, which channel, much as a religion, has Christianity and Islam. I can prove that. I said, now who are you? According to this law, I need your permission to change my religion, and only if you see that there is no fraud, no force, no bulgar bag given, no oil or no house and so on, then you can allow me maybe. But I'm telling you, I've already stopped believing there is a God. Yet we had several states, including Karnataka, have this draconian law, in all BJP ruled states. It's not about whether I have the right to convert you. It is not whether I can force my religion on you. I should not and I cannot. This is not part of the evangelizing mandate of the church. It's witnessing. But if I, as an independent citizen, if I, as a citizen of India, can change or embrace my religion 3 times a day. So when a bishop in Kerala uses the word love jihad, that's a mortal sin. That is wrong, that is anti-constitutional, that is against the gospel of Jesus Christ. No bishop, no priest. So they tell me when I go, what do you know about what's happening? Do you know these Muslim boys are sitting outside us, the PUC college and the college? They are there with their goggles and they are sitting on a motorbike with drugs in their hand. And when our Catholic girls come out, they come running, jump on their motorbike and run away. I said, I believe what you say, 100%, 100%. But let's look at your marriage registers in your churches. The disparity of cult marriages. Most of the marriages recorded are to Hindus, not to Muslims. Okay? Fine, you say that these Catholic girls don't go to church any longer, they have run away. Fine. Can you look at something that is systemic, what we call formation? Can you look at something endemic? What about the faith formation in the family? An 18, 20-year-old girl, is the girl an adult? Does she have the right to marry the boy of her choice? I will defend that right. Even if she, wants to divorce one man and go and marry a second and third and so on. I'm not saying divorce is right, but whether if that girl is suffering from domestic violence, I think even the church has, a lot of sympathy towards things like this. But if a girl wants to marry somebody out of her faith, and if she's an adult, she has a right to marry. We have to look into what is happening in our families, what is happening in our church. And the point is, why are those Catholic girls not jumping on the motorbikes of Catholic boys? So there is something wrong even with our Catholic boys, So why are we not looking at something which is endemic, something which is structural? Let's look at right to life and livelihood, which is being destroyed. Do you know about the 4 labor codes that have come out during the COVID? Do you know the fact that trade unions are non-existent in our country? Do you know what happens when Modi had his roadshows? I was here for 6 weeks just before the elections here in Bangalore with several civil society groups and working in many of the rural and other areas in Karnataka. And people's life and livelihood were destroyed because of the roadshows. Crores of rupees of money was spent, by the government. The Karnataka government at that stage. He had 22 visits. And yet, thank God that a lot of civil society, mainly some religious congregations, but I know many religious congregations did not do much during the last elections here in Karnataka, but a lot thanks to the Archbishop Peter Machado, who took a proactive stand. I addressed, even a group of laity and others. Some of you would have been there here at the Archbishop's house. But yeah, right to life and livelihood. What about the poor worker, the hawkers? They are just destroying. What about the migrant workers during the time of COVID? Hundreds and thousands of them walked home, went on cycle without any public transport. Then we have the Adivasis, the Jal Jungle or Jameen of the Adivasis. Their identity taken away to mega projects. And this is what Stan Swami lived for and died for. We have the plight of the Dalits. Just now in Father Maria Rul Raja's presentation, he spoke a lot about the Dalits, about the subalterns and so on. The OBCs, untouchability is still practiced everywhere. The minorities in India, the hijab controversy which began here in Karnataka because of the UP elections, the right to eat. Now, yesterday in Jaipur, there is, I can send you the video, one newly elected member, MLA of the Rajasthan Assembly, is going down and telling these Muslim shops who are selling meat and non-vegetarian, you have to close down your shop. We have a right to wear what we want, to worship whom we want, to eat what we want, provided it is not causing any obstruction. India is a non-vegetarian country for centuries. The Hindus were eating beef. Read Romila Thapar, Ancient Indian History, and she gives empirical evidence as to what the food habits of the ancient Indians were. What about the other minorities? The Sikhs, the farmer strike, calling them Khalistanis. What the government of India is doing now in Canada and United States, killing pro-Khalistani people. We have had human rights defenders. I sit on the board of the Citizens for Justice and Peace, Tisa Setalvad. I'm a founder member of that organization. And Tista was in prison for 70 days in Ahmedabad. Okay, today she's still in Ahmedabad with her husband just to sign the papers from Bombay. What about Umar Khalid? I was with him here in St. Joseph's College some time ago. A little later, he was arrested. He's still incarcerated. We have others in the Bhima Koregaon case. Arun Ferreira is an ex-student of St. Xavier's College, Bombay. Okay, his uncle is an auxiliary bishop emeritus now, Alvin De Silva. His uncle, father's side, is a Jesuit of the Bombay province. Two of the sisters are nuns. And he identified, because of his ICUF training, with the poor and the marginalized, and he was incarcerated. Help. Vernon Gonsalves and I come from the same school in Bombay. He's my junior. His wife, Susan Abraham, is a lawyer in Bombay. These are excellent people. When I had the 150 years of my college, my alma mater, St. Xavier's College, I asked, why is Arun Ferreira's name not there? But we Jesuits are frightened to highlight even the good work. We will show that Ambani studied in our college and so on, people who loot the country and so on. These become the icons, even for those among you who run schools and identify with the rich and the powerful who destroy the poor and the vulnerable of the country. That is sin. What about women, children, human trafficking? We're having lots of things on human trafficking. We have to touch what is systemic. The powerful people, the politicians who are indulging, can we take a stand on them? Drugs that are coming into the Gujarat port are coming into the Adani port. Yet when bishops speak about drug jihad, they will not say it's coming from the Gujarat port. Why? Be honest. We cannot live in lies, lack of transparency all the time. I can go on about the Constitution. Using the use and misuse of constitutional bodies like the Enforcement Directorate, the National Investigation Agency, the CIA, the Income Tax, quasi-movements, the National Human Rights Commission, and the Information Commission and so on, are become toothless tigers today. They have destroyed every constitutional body of the country, including the Election Commission, and the quasi-bodies. So when you're talking about the socio-political reality, we have to remember a lot of socio-political reality. It's the movement towards 2025 when the RSS completes their 100 years, when they want to usher in a nation state based on the Hindutva ideology. That we have to be clear. Then don't start crying when your lands and property are taken. When all your FCRA, that time don't cry. Because that time the people whom you have called to serve, those who you say, these are laity or are faithful of Christ, they will say, you holy bishops, you cardinals, you major superiors, provincials, formators, you all are scoundrels. You all were not witnesses of Christ. You all had all CCM behind your name, church compound mentality and convent compound mentality, congregational compound mentality. You lived in your comfort zones. You had no witness. Witnessing was missing. And that was for a socially engaged faith, which Felix Wilfred was talking about throughout. We would have let down our country, our people. Above all, we would have let down Christ and the gospel if we are not visible today. That is socio-political. Economic, there is so much. They are fooling us about the GDP, the gross domestic product, which has to be, we are the 5th largest economy, Nirmala Sitaram will say, go on say. But you must know that the indicator of the level of poverty is per capita income. It is GDP divided by the population. Today, in terms of our per capita income, we are 142 out of 197 countries in the world. And among the G20 countries, where everyone was clapping hands, since we had the presidency of the G20, we are the last among these 20 countries, last, okay? So we have to look at last year in Davos, beginning of this year in January 2023, the Oxfam report on survival of the richest says that 40% of the wealth created in the country from 2012 to 2021, okay, mostly the Modi regime, had gone to just 1% of the population, while only 3% of the wealth had trickled down to the 50%. Gautam Adani profits, his wealth had increased by 46%. And the combined wealth of the top 100 of India's richest had touched $660 billion. I think economically I can go on, but we are in dire straits. And I think we need to look at, say, the Global Hunger Index of 2023. India was placed an abysmal 111 out of 125 countries. And when I'm speaking about freedom of speech and expression, we were placed even worse at 160 out of 180 countries. But environment, we have good Father Maria Rudraj couldn't come from Chennai. Chennai is in floods. I've got several videos from my own nephew and so on there. His floods and so on is going to hit Andhra today. And I know some of you are from Andhra, landfall, Michong, the cyclone. And yeah, and as someone told me yesterday from Tamil Nadu, the government is doing excellent work. They cleaned the stormwater drainages, the canals and so on, but this is beyond. But climate change, global warming, is a tremendous impact. We are talking about Laudato Si from so many years, and no Pope writes an encyclical for people to grow plants in your own compounds, okay, for stop using plastic, to have alternatives. No. Read, study Laudato Si. Look at the apostolic exhortation of October 4th this year, Laudate Deum, and the Pope is talking about, unless we take a stand about what is systemic, what is structural, we will not address global warming and climate change. Climate change, if you see, has the most disastrous effect on the lives of the poor. Our environment is in a shambles, okay? India in the last 2022 Environmental Performance Index was ranked last 180 out of 180 countries in the world. We are in, look what's happening in Delhi. We are blaming the small farmers. Look what's happening in all the big cities, whether it is Bombay or Calcutta. Now we have the 2023 Forest Conservation Amendment Act. Even the new Karnataka government is succumbing to it because the powerful, the corporate sector want to take big percentages of the forest for non-forest use, for commercial, for tourism, for putting up the industries. And the government is giving. Look at the fact that India is still using fossil fuels. They're still auctioning coal blocks. And this government is totally destroying the environment. I can go on about the environment, plenty of things. What happened there? Father Felix Wilfred referred to the Silk era, what happened, okay, the rat miners. The other day, this whole Chardham project has not been given environmental clearance. Josimath seems to have been forgotten. You know, we are going on building things in the hills, and God says, I've left you stewards of creation to care for this common home, and you don't care, including these holy religious people of the people of God. I know instances where in one place, the sisters are busy giving plants and saplings. In the same little further up, they are getting bulldozers and JCBs to destroy, you know, anything and everything, and even pulling down their neighbors' trees, you know, the same congregation. So, I mean, there's a lot of hypocrisy in us. We lack sensitivity. This is just situating. Basically, I need 3 days just to highlight the current reality, socioeconomic, socio-political, economic, and ecological reality, but there is no time. Let me get down to the challenges, implications for priestly and religious formation. I put 7, and many of us, right from the beginning, from Sister Inigo, we are speaking about, this I've not borrowed, it's there in my synopsis. I speak about a formation which is incarnational. I spoke the other day to the Assumption Sisters at an international meeting in Pune with their Superior General and so on. And I said we need to get into a formation which is incarnational. I think that is important. And this formation must be rooted in spiritual depth, with Father Felix Wilfred is speaking about in his, we lack. And spiritual depth is not about saying prayers, is not about rites, is not about rituals, is not about novenas. Novenas are racket, okay? Don't say it is the ordinary faith of people. I'm not denigrating or poo-pooing anything. I believe in faith, okay? Thank God Jesus and Our Lady didn't make any novenas, okay? But we forget that Jesus reminded us, not all who say, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven. So a formation has to be incarnational. Incarnational has many dimensions. It means interiorization. Mary pondered and treasured and kept all these things in our heart. The interiorization, we need to interiorize. We need to have this intellectual rigor that is incarnation. We need to study. What Karl Barth says, you know, which Father Felix Wilfred again referred to the other day, the Gospels in one hand and the newspaper in the other. But read the op-eds, read the editorials in the newspaper. That intellectual rigor, we have plenty of books. It's not about buying books and accumulating. At a good friend, Sister Constipata, Mother Superior, okay, whenever she went to St. Paul's, she bought the books, put a nice plastic cover, put it in the showcase, locked up the showcase, and kept the key under the mattress, okay? In many of our places, yes, Sister Chetna, I heard you, okay? We need a formation which is fearless. We are frightened people. And we need to revisit the temptation in the desert. And what Jesus was tempted with was power, position, possessions, privileges, and pride. Today, as cardinals, as bishops, as major superiors, as formators, as religious, as priests, we are frightened to stand up for truth and justice. We are frightened. They will take away our land. They will chop up of FCRA. Of course, they will do so. Of course. But even without you doing it, they will still do it. Please remember. But unless we come out fearlessly, have that prophetic courage, unless we have our formation built on fearlessness, will not change. It is the authoritarianism that was referred to this morning. Do this, do that. Like that thing of the centurion. Lord, you come under my roof. But this whole question of trust, the whole question of collegiality is missing. And this is what the synodal, read the synodal document. We need a formation which transcends fundamentalism. We are very fundamentalist in our approach. The rector of St. Joseph's College, Brian, gave me a video about all these songs. God is awesome, God is mighty, and things like that. And it's played in assemblies. I said, this cannot be played in assemblies. We have to be sensitive. We cannot be fundamentalists, just as they are. We need to have a formation that complements the gospel with constitutionality. The rights, the values enshrined in the Constitution. What are the classes we are giving? We are teaching them to say prayers. We are deadening their spirituality. We are deadening their spiritual growth. Have the Constitution. Let them contextualize the gospel in the idiom of the Constitution. We need a formation which is contextual. Maybe they sound overlapping, but they are not. And finally, we need a formation which is prophetic. As a conclusion, 3 quotes, but I'll just read 2. When we had that year of consecrated life, was already there in his apostolic letter of 21st November of 2014's Witnesses of Joy. The Pope says, I'm counting on you to wake up the world. It's not only religious, but also priests and everyone. Since the distinctive life of consecrated life, all of us are consecrated, is prophecy. Yeah. As I told the Superior General, radical evangelical living is not only for religious, it is demanded of everyone, but religious follows the path in a special way, in a prophetic way. This is the priority that is needed now. We are called to wake up the world. We cannot wake up the world, my dear sisters and brothers, if we pretend to be asleep. For those pretending to be asleep, they will not get up for anything in the world. Many of us are pretending that. Finally, in the words of Tagore, leave this chanting and singing and telling of beads. Whom dost thou worship in the lonely dark corner of a temple with doors all shut? Open thine eyes and see thy God is not before thee. He is there where the tiller is tilling the hard ground and where the pathmaker is breaking stones. He is with them in sun and in shower, and his garment is covered with dust. Our favorite prayer in the churches, as it was in the beginning, is now and ever shall be, till the very end. I hope this national conference will bring about some little transformation for priestly and religious formation in today's India. God bless you all. Thank you.